Oh my God, like your vibration is so low. You should really think high vibe thoughts and like you need to shift all of that. Have you ever had someone tell you that your frequency is low and you should shift into a higher vibration and just be high vibe? Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about exactly that, and I will give you my top 5 tips of how you can shift your vibration where it is today to a higher level of vibration. So without further ado, why don't we just jump right in? Hey guys, what's happening? It's Meshi with Meshi TV. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me in this video, and welcome. So today we're going to be talking about all about the law of attraction, the law of frequency and vibration, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into how you can actually affect your own vibrational state, how you can go into higher vibration from what you're feeling today in 5 different ways. So if you wanted to just increase your vibe, then why don't we just dive right in? If this is the first time that we're meeting though, I wanted to take a moment to welcome you and thank you so much for coming by. I'm so glad that you are here. Here's what we do here. We talk a little bit about tarot and spiritual practices. We do some yoga, we do some minimalist planning, and we kind of bring it all together in we bring all of these pillars together to live a more meaningful, more intentional life. So if that sounds good, you will likely love to stick around. So what is the first thing that we should do if you're feeling really low vibe? Well, first and foremost, before we dive into the tips, I want to take a moment to actually explain what low vibe means, because I think that we really associate a lot of negative things with that. And I think that there's a lot of wisdom in the way that we're feeling. So lower vibrational emotions. First of all, why don't I just pop the actual chart here so you can take a look. And this is, so the human emotional frequency chart, it basically, they have managed to associate a certain measurable frequency to each emotion, to each human emotion. So if you know how the body's feeling, or if you know what thought you're thinking, then you can essentially measure what vibration you're vibing at. So things like fear, anger, resentment, or shame, guilt, grief, all of those things have a different measurement of vibrational frequency versus things like acceptance and obedience, willingness, neutrality. Even feeling neutral has a higher vibrational frequency than, let's say, feeling shame. Shame is going to be one of the lowest vibrational frequencies that you can tap into. So whenever we're talking about shifting from that, the way I like to think of it, the way I've been thinking of that in the past was basically to go from shame to love immediately. And that's not really how it works. At least it hasn't really worked that way for me. I think that it happens in stages. So even if you can shift a little bit, it's a lot easier to go from neutral to feeling neutral, where you're not really depressed, but you're also not really all that excited, to go into excitement and joy and love. Versus when you're feeling shame and guilt, and then we're asking to actually raise that vibration to a higher frequency. To me, that's a little bit unrealistic. It's not to say that it cannot be done, but it's just to say, I just think that it's a little bit more realistic for us to just shift to a higher frequency, and that would be good. So why does this matter? Well, it matters because when you understand that every single thing that you think in your head has a certain energetic signature, then you start paying attention to what you think of and what you consume and how that makes you feel. So my very first tip when it comes to wanting to change your frequency and change your vibration is literally check in and observe it. Sometimes we're so quick to wanting to shift something without actually understanding it, just because it's uncomfortable. I find that as a society, we have spent so much time just wanting to shift from one place to the next without actually understanding what our body is trying to tell us. And I think that there's just so much wisdom that we can find within our bodies if we learn to tune into it in an appropriate way, and also learn from it so that it can guide us into literally shifting our vibration to a higher state. So if you're feeling anger, if you're feeling resentment, if you're feeling frustration, I would actually stop and I would tune in and tune into where you're feeling it, because that will also give you a really big indication as to what's happening within your body. But then also you can ask yourself a simple question of, what can I do for me to shift, or why am I feeling this way? And the body has an interesting way of actually answering you in an indirect way. Now, number 2 is to take a look at your environment, because sometimes the body and your mind and your subconscious mind is actually reacting to whatever's around you. So not only are your thoughts has a certain vibrational frequency signature, but so does everything around you. Everything that you touch, everything that you consume, everything has a vibrational frequency. So if you understand that everything is energy, right, then what that actually says is, what is surrounding you? What are you allowing around you to consume you? And how does that make you feel? So I'll give you an easy example, and it can be as simple as you look around in the room that you're in right now, and you kind of take a look at, okay, what is this space filled with? How does that make me feel? And if it doesn't make you feel positive, it doesn't make you feel like you're happy or you're joyful, or it does not make you feel positive thoughts, then you need to kind of change something about the environment. And it can be as simple as tidying up. Sometimes when things are out of place, it can make you feel out of place in your mind, which will translate into the certain pattern of thoughts, and then that will translate into the frequency. So sometimes you might feel very flustered and you might not know why. Well, take a look at your environment and see if you can do a 5-minute tidy up, because that will actually end up affecting the way that you feel, and you might feel peace. Now, the next thing that I wanted to mention, and I want you to take this with sort of like a caveat, because sometimes you need to actually, I call this shake it up. So shaking it up means sometimes we're actually too active and then we forget to relax, and other times we're too stale and stable and then we forget to shake it up. So take a look at exactly how you've been managing your energy in the last 24 hours, because that will give you a really good indication of what will allow you to shift that vibration. So sometimes we forget to rest, other times we forget to have fun, and other times we forget to just simply do basic things like hydrating, having enough protein, having enough rest, having enough fun in our days. So shake it up to me is sometimes it's just, I would just simply put on music, and I know that music will immediately shift my vibration, but other times I would literally need to tune into my body to see what it needs. So shaking it up just means it's almost like you have to do the opposite of what you've been doing in the last day and a half. Usually the last 24 hours will give you a really good indication, because sometimes you get these peripheral messages that says, oh, you should be working out. Well, if you've been really active and overworking yourself, likely working out might not be the best thing that will shift your vibration. And vice versa. If you've been in front of the computer working nonstop, then maybe it is actually time to literally shake things up so that it gets your blood flow going. So I kind of like to add that little bit of disclaimer, just based on where you are in your activity level, then you will kind of have to apply it as it fits. Now, the next thing that I wanted to mention, so number 4 is all about diving deeper. So this goes a little bit deeper than just literally tuning into your body. Once you've identified where you're feeling this emotion in your body, so if you're feeling lower frequency vibrational emotion, then I would actually want to tune into not only where you're feeling it, but then also why you're feeling it. So going a little bit deeper into a more into a deeper self-inquiry is going to be so valuable, because then you will get answers almost immediately. So I'm going to add a few journal prompts here on the screen for you. You're welcome to pause the video right now and literally just free write. Grab a piece of paper and a pen and free write and see what comes up for you. Because sometimes even though you might be actually angry because there's dishes in the sink, but really the underlying thing is that you haven't had a vacation, or you might be, just simply mentally and physically and emotionally fatigued from the pandemic, which is quite likely. Or you might be just uncertain about the future. That's also very common right now. So tuning in to exactly where the problem is, because a lot of the times we're reacting to the subliminal, and then we need to go a little bit deeper to really understand what is actually going on with us and how we can sort of correct it. And sometimes a simple question of what is something simple that I can do right now that can shift me to what would bring me peace, what would bring me love, what would bring me joy. And if you start writing along with releasing whatever you're holding on to, then you're not only acknowledging how you're feeling, but then you're also moving towards shifting your vibration. Now, the last thing that I wanted to say is number 5, which is self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is all about taking a look at the last 24 hours and actually examining how have you been treating your body, because the body will always sort of respond to the environment, but then it's also responding to the subconscious mind of how you're actually feeling, and it's constantly giving you feedback. So sometimes, and I mentioned this earlier in the video, sometimes we forget to hydrate appropriately. So understand that you're mostly made up of water. So water is going to affect you. And sometimes you don't know how deeply dehydrated you are until you tune in and you feel that you're exhibiting emotions that you have no rationale behind it. You can also take a look at what you ate. So if you're finding yourself first thing in the morning being highly anxious and you have these anger tantrums that are coming out and you're not really sure where that's coming from, take a look at what you ate before you went to bed, if anything. Take a look at how much you were hydrating, because you might be dehydrated. Take a look at how much sleep you had, because you might have had really disrupted sleep patterns, which meant that you're actually not fully rested. So throwing yourself into more work is really going to be kind of counterproductive in this whole process. You can also take a look at how much you've exercised. If you're lacking exercise in the last week, then this might be your invitation, which kind of brings me back to shaking it up. And take a look at how you have been. So these are just your basics, but then also dig a little bit deeper. When was the last time that you gave yourself the opportunity to have fun, to go somewhere new, or to connect with friends? Psychologically and mentally, this will affect you, which will affect your vibration. So you might be feeling deep sense of loss and grief, and it could be easily related to the past year and a half of how we are feeling collectively. But if you never tune in and you never do any self-inquiry, you would never actually find out why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. So you might be lashing out on your family, you might be lashing out on your dog, and you have no idea why. And you're thinking it's because there's plates in the sink, when really it might be just a lot deeper than that. So these are my 5 tips that I have for you. They don't cost anything, but they do cost your time for you to really dig deeper into how you can actually shift your vibration into a more positive, more higher frequency. So let me know in the comments below which one of the 5 steps or the 5 points have resonated the most. I would love to hear from you guys. And in the meanwhile, just keep shining your light. And I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye.